competing at a combined weight of 405 pounds. They are the reigning, defending, undisputed Racing Dudes Triple Crown champions of the world, the Magic Mike Show.
What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show, episode 443, Mr. Somich.
Huzzah!
Yeah, huzzah to you as well. Welcome back to the Magic Mike Show. Slow weekend as far as what happened as far as the Derby and Oaks goes. And might be a quicker show, but that's all right. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Just living the dream here. Got a haircut today. They didn't take it as high as normal, so just kind of got the new look going on right now. We'll see how it goes.
I noticed that, yeah, you didn't have the full high fade going on there. You went, it looks good. No, it's slightly different. But, boy, the racing this past weekend was, like I said, it was frustrating at times because we were at Fairgrounds for the Late Pick 5 last weekend. And one of the races we'll talk about, Rachel Alexandra, the horse I wanted to try and fit on my ticket ended up getting the win. And it was just frustrating that I didn't because she got the win at a nice price. But wasn't great. We'll talk about those two races. Overall, how was your first weekend without betting the NFL, though? How are you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm honing in on NHL first period unders now, which has been a phenomenal angle for me if you're picking the right spots here right now. So that's been good. I do miss the NFL, man, especially in I think Curtis brings up a great point here. Look, the preps have not been spectacular, so it's really hard to get super excited about anyone that's running in these preps. And because of it, we keep talking about these horses that debut or that are running in an allowance that we get excited about. And then we see them take that step up into a prep, and they fall apart at that level as well. So it's just been one of those it's been tough because you keep getting excited and then let down and excited and let down. It feels like we're just in a bunch of high school relationships right
now. The same amount of sex, too, for me. Anyways, I don't know about you for that. But, hey, we're going to get into it. We've got the Risen Star Stakes and the Rachel Alexandra Stakes from Fairgrounds to talk about. Let's get into it, buddy. Riders up. All right, Mike, here we go. The Risen Star Stakes. If you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, thank you so much. We'll put the replay on here. Boy, first thought, where the hell are the lights for this track? Why is it so dark?
I don't know, man. I actually had to adjust my monitor to watch the replay for this thing. So I turned up the brightness on everything so I could watch this a few times. I watch this replay a lot because I thought, keyword thought, there's going to be a lot more trip trouble in this race than there was. There really was no one got stopped. No one was making a run and got pushed back. They went fast early. 23-2 is extremely fast for Fairgrounds going this distance. So you kind of see a theme. We talk about it on the charts a lot. When you look at where those poorly placed horses end up, they all end up in the same place. In this case, Ford determinedly finishes last. Harlow, Cap, Shap, Diesel, Victory Formation, all back up. The only horse that didn't back up that's in this first group, Two Phils, who I thought ran a very good race in defeat here because he is right there on the rail on the outside of the 9 horse and ends up running third. No one else from that front group of 5 or 6 there can make a claim like that. And those all backed up pretty bad when the closer started making a move, but no one got stopped as a closer. Usually you see horses get cut off, not get a clean trip, not get a path. Every single horse coming from off of it got a path and got through. There were just some that weren't good enough.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point about Two Phils. There were, from that first big flight there, that's the only horse that at one point thought, hey, man, he's going to get a job done. And I was like, well, shit, I was one race off because I think you and I both liked him in the comp. I couldn't remember if you liked him in this. I think you might have, but
I had him in this one.
This is going to work. And then I saw the 6th, Angels of Empire, the other Brad Cox kind of split through the field there. He's going to pull away here late to get the job done. I thought it was fine, a good effort, but the buyer comes back low. It's an 87, and you see a big part of that. It was a slow day at Fairgrounds, a slow race, but I mean, 26-2 basically from the 3/4 of the mile, and then almost 13 home for that last bit. they're not the most exciting kind of facts and figures you see there.
No, it definitely leaves something to be desired. And it's interesting because you watch the Smarty Jones at Oaklawn and you see Victory Formation go gate to wire in an 8-horse field. And then you watch this race and all of a sudden not able to get the lead, hung 4 wide on the first turn. Fractions are similar, backs up like a freight train going down there on the backstretch, just completely goes out the back. It makes you realize how much more difficult handicapping these larger fields are and how much more random the results can be in these larger fields. Because if you watch Angel of Empire trying to chase home Victory Formation, they could have gone around that Oaklawn track another time and Smarty Jones and Angel of Empire never would have gone by. Whereas here you see what happens when we're in 13 instead of 8. The pace is stronger. There's more horses up front. It's one of the reasons why the Derby can be so hard to predict, is because you have a field of 20 for the only time all year taking the gate, and it really creates not just trip trouble, but also it changes the pace, how horses try and run. And that's really what struck Victory Formation, or what caught my eye about Victory Formation more than anything else in this spot.
Brad Cox didn't sound super excited about Victory Formation's chances moving forward. He said, I don't know what to make of him finishing 9th. He might be a Pat Day mile type horse, or maybe he just needs the lead. And I'm like, that's kind of two ends of a broad spectrum there. Like to say maybe he's a 1-turn mile horse. Maybe he can go a mile and a quarter. He just needs to be on the front end. So what would you do with the Victory Formation? Would you try him again in, say, the Louisiana Derby or the Bluegrass, or, maybe he just didn't like Fairgrounds? I don't know. Would you still try him on the Derby trail?
I would be surprised if we don't see him on the Derby trail again next. Look, the post position the last 2 times have been brutal, right? 8 of 8, now 13 of 14, right? So not wonderfully drawn, especially for a speed horse, and one that's not like lightning quick. He's a speed horse, but he's not like Cave Rock or, like Golden Pal, who's 2 lengths ahead of everybody early. He needs to kind of get up into speed. And so drawing inside is really important for him, specifically inside the other speed. So been tough 2 spots, was able to clear. That was huge at Oaklawn. Obviously not able to clear here, sitting 2 wide, around 3 wide, really around the whole first turn, and then 2 wide when they actually do move in a little bit. He's not winning from this trip. That's the problem. And he wasn't able to, if he had used the horse to get the lead early, he's not winning from that trip either, because Determinedly runs last. He would have been right around that same spot had he gone, let's say 2/3 or 2/5 of a second faster, which is what it would have taken to get the lead.
What do you think about Tappett's Conquest? He was way back there with he was actually even a couple lengths ahead of Single Ruler at different points, but he came from the freaking clouds, got up and got 4th. He finished 2nd to Determinedly in that allowance last out, but he was the only horse in the field to gain on Determinedly. It's kind of why we both liked him in this spot. I mean, I don't know if it was the starter, what happened, why he got so far back early, but Brad Cox seems pretty excited about him. What do you think about his chances moving forward?
I mean, honestly, I don't want anything out of this race. It's one of those where it just feels like you had some stumble bunnies on the way home. No one was really all that impressive. You mentioned the buyer number didn't come back very well. The time form number didn't come back very high. The last half mile was slow for a Derby prep. Last quarter of a mile was very slow for a Derby prep. There really wasn't anything that jumped out at me in this race. And again, the one horse I will give an excuse for is Two Phils, because he did the early work and did the late work. Everyone else either did no early work or did no late work, right? So Two Phils is the one horse out of this I'm interested in coming back from. I would love to bet against the winner, Angel Empire, here. And next out for me is a complete chuck, because the price is going to be nowhere near what it should be for a horse that got just a dream setup and was able to kind of get that closing kick. Tappett's Conquest just wasn't good enough. I mean, that to me is the biggest issue. Is actually ahead of the 6 down when they started going down the lane. The 6 was able to get by and then open up on Tappett's Conquest. No excuse there. Sun Thunder gets a dream run up the rail. Still not good enough to get the job done. So, like, to me, this is a race where you're probably fading the 1st, the 2nd, and the 4th place finisher. I would be a little more cautious fading the 3rd place finisher because of what Two Phils did early.
I agree, and you brought up the next thing I was going to ask about, which was Sun Thunder. I think both of them being big prices here, if you had them 13-1 on the winner, Angel of Empire, and then 16-1 on Sun Thunder getting 2nd, you're not going to get anywhere close to those prices next out in the Louisiana Derby. You know they'll both show up there after this effort. They're going to be half that price, maybe even less for Angel of Empire. No, I think it seems like at this point, Louisiana Derby is going to be won by somebody that's a new shooter. or possibly instant coffee. I know they're waiting for that, but I'm with you. Everybody from this group, I don't really like that much moving forward. Possibly Tappett's Conquest 2 fills a good race here. The maiden Crouppy, last of 14, by almost 19, 20 lengths at different points through the race. Well, he got up for 7th. So everybody who used Crouppy and liked Crouppy, are you happy with it?
Well, this set up wonderfully for Crouppy if you look at it. I mean, they went 112, 138. They were crawling home. You had all the time in the world to close. It's funny. I saw someone right after this go, Crouppy, Belmont horse. I'm like, just because a horse closed doesn't mean they're a Belmont horse. Like, that's not really how this works.
Belmont maiden special weight? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, look, I understood. I don't know why Crouppy was so far back. I realize Crouppy's not fast early, but I mean, this was excessive, being 20 lengths back. I mean, barely on the screen.
He's not even on the screen, is he?
I think he's on the outside of the horse in the back.
He's way back there. Man.
Yeah. A lot of ground to make up.
That's just ridiculous. What the hell are you doing back there?
So Crouppy performance here. Got a little command performance part droit going on down there at Fairgrounds. Look, Crouppy needs to go win a maiden, and then we can talk about Crouppy again. I feel like we've talked about Crouppy too much already at this point. But again, look, not really a race that I'm going to highlight anyone off of. For me, the 2 Phils ran the best race. Other 3 horses in the top 4 all benefited from what was not a pace meltdown, but not exactly anyone be able to move forward off the front end. 2 Phils made the lead at the top of the stretch, quit out the 3rd, but it was a good quit out. It wasn't a just give up quit out. So Tappett's Conquest, I'm kind of disappointed, man. I realized ran 4th and ran a decent 4th, but if you tell me Victory Formation sucks, which we can say, okay, Victory Formation sucked in that race, you got to think the Tappet Conquest can get the job done if that is a Derby horse, right? Because without Victory Formation going into that race, that was an awful prep. With Victory Formation, it made it look better on paper because you had the Smarty Jones winner in there. But without Victory Formation, or assuming Victory Formation isn't good, that's a really bad prep race. So you got to get it done if you're going to try and move on and win the Kentucky Derby. And I think it's a long shot that anyone comes out of this race and wins that race.
Some other horses of note to bring up quickly. The Tappet Shoes, a horse that we got in the 3rd round of the Fantasy League, was 3rd in an allowance undercard. The one that Banishing completely shit his pants in and didn't run a lick in. But Brad Cox is saying that, well, the Louisiana Derby's in the conversation. That gets me excited. I don't understand it, but as his fantasy owner, and we desperately need points as we can get them, please do it.
Yeah. Tappet Shoes was forwardly placed for the first time. That was kind of nice to see that the horse had some early speed. I think they put blinkers on. It definitely moved the horse forward. So maybe he thinks second time blinkers, you're going to see an improvement. But that's another one where, like, the freaking horse that ran 4th in the Lecomte ends up winning that race, who was 50-1 in the Lecomte and comes back and wins at 8-1 for, was it McPeak or Romans? I can't remember which it was. Demagon or whatnot. That horse comes back and wins that allowance. So all of a sudden you're like, well, Banishing's not that good. You get him out of here. Okay, there's another one we can cross off the list. And so now we're looking ahead to Oaklawn, and you've got, Verifying and that whole crew that we're going to see next. And it's just like, are you all going to let me down too? Is this just going to keep being the trend of this Derby trail? Although I will say this. Look, this usually isn't that productive of a race. Right? Like, if you go back historically, the reason that Fairgrounds is getting so much love is because this is the route that Epicenter took. And so people are paying attention because Epicenter was probably the best 3-year-old at this time in the country and was down there for Atchison at Fairgrounds. Historically, this Fairgrounds route has not been the most productive, but it's getting a little more love because of the barn that Brad Cox has and how many horses he's got running down there and what Epicenter did last year.
Oh, Epicenter. I love him. I wish we could have seen him as a 4-year-old. Question here in the chat before we move on. Michael Myers is asking, do you upgrade Red Route 1 in the Rebel this weekend with Sun Thunder getting second, or do you draw a line through it just like he drew a line through Sun Thunder's Southwest effort?
I mean, this is the kind of question that you get when the Derby class is shit, right? Like, do we upgrade Red Route 1, who is like an also ran Asmussen horse, right? Because of what Sun Thunder did, McPeak on the rail at a big price. I mean, I'm not knocking the question. I'm knocking the horses that are involved and how funny it is to me. Look, Red Route 1 is going to run third because that's what Red Route 1 does. So, no, I'm not going to upgrade Red Route 1 for this Sun Thunder performance because I think Sun Thunder got absolutely the dream trip and the perfect setup. And so I think his effort today was more setup and style based than it was talent based. And because of that, I'm not going to upgrade a horse that was also in a race that he ran in.
All right, Mike, let's move on and talk about fairgrounds let's talk about our Derby top picks right now. We don't have to take too much time on that one. Neither of us had Victory Formation as our top pick. I am staying with Cape Rock until he proves me otherwise, which will be whenever he gets on the track or it's May 3rd and he still hasn't had a race back. Like one of those two things, I'll take Cape Rock down, but for now I'm with him. I have a second pick I'll talk about in a second. Are you still riding Cape Rock?
I'm still going to ride Cape Rock, although I'm not as confident as last week because the workout was not as impressive this week as it was last week. And when all we got to do is look at workouts, it makes it a little more difficult to be.
It's the rain. We're going to have rain this week at some point in Southern California. We will get rain, and Baffert's just worried about it, so he slowed him down. That's what the excuse is.
It's still Cape Rock and Forte that are 1-2 in my mind. That is where we are. You can put them in either order. I wouldn't argue with you. That right now are the best two horses that we believe to have on the trail, because I can't really guarantee either is on the trail because neither has come back yet. But right now, those would be the 1 and the 2 pretty safely in my mind, just because of the talent we saw last year.
I'm very excited for one particular horse running. The Rebel Stakes this weekend, by the way, is loaded with all sorts of great horses. And one of them, I'm really excited to see if he wins it and wins it impressively. I think definitely deserves to be in the top candidate choices right now, and that is Verifying. The half brother to Midnight Bisou is by Justify. It's a Brad Cox horse. A million Brad Cox horses out there. I feel like this one kind of gets swept under the rug a lot because he hasn't won a graded stakes yet. But the way he won that allowance at Oaklawn, and then Gun Pilot came back and won impressively out of that. The only bad effort he's got is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and he finished 6th. But Joel Rosario, you go back and watch. Rosario never gave the horse a chance. He's a forwardly placed horse. Rosario let him be, 6th or 7th early on, and he had a shit trip and never got comfortable. You scratch that out. I think he deserves, if he wins the Rebel, deserves very much to be in the conversation.
Sounds a lot like the horse we just watched. Sounds a lot like Victory Formation. If he wins this race, we're going to put him into the conversation at the top. Until someone actually can do it, that is when I will actually give them. I'm sick of hyping up these horses just to be let down by them. But to be fair, there are a couple horses in there. Gun Pilot, if it takes a step forward, could prove to be a real threat. Verifying, same thing. You're facing a horse like Red Route 1 in that race, who is a measuring stick horse. You need to beat the shit out of him if you want to win a Kentucky Derby, right? So we'll see what they're able to do against a horse like that as a measuring stick. If someone can run away from that field, they can kind of crack into that top 3 or try and say, okay, I'm here, right? I mean, Tapit Trice, I still think is the best horse I've seen this year run, right? So if I was going to put a horse on top right now, it would be Tapit Trice that has already run in 2023. Verifying, Gun Pilot, those horses need to catch up to that effort. But even Tapit Trice, coming out of an allowance, hasn't run against Stakes Company yet. There's still so many question marks at the same time.
There are several Todd Pletcher 3-year-olds who looked great coming out of maiden or allowance races, and then the rubber met the road in a stakes race, and it was nope. That never mind. Not this isn't the one. Is this the one? I don't know. Speaking of that, before we switch over to the Osh race, Dennis. Well, he said that's a question for Aaron, so I'm glad that you're asking our show, Dennis. But he is drunk, so maybe he forgot what show he's watching. What trainer do you want to bet for the Derby right now? Because Aaron, this is going off a quote Aaron had said earlier last week, I think on the live stream. Cox has the many, but I don't think he has the one. So what trainer do you want to bet, Mike?
Man, this is hard because you got to factor in the price, right? If you said, okay, here's $100, you get $100 if this trainer wins, Brad Cox is probably the logical answer because you know how many horses he has and who he has. I'll go ahead and say I don't think Brad Cox is winning the Derby this year. I don't think it's him. If I was going to do one person, I'd probably do Pletcher right now because I know I get Tapit Trice and I get Forte. So I think that would be my pick if I was going to pick anybody. Baffert, it depends how you grade that ticket. Does Baffert, do you get all the Bafferts no matter what trainer they go to? Do you only get the Yak Team Bafferts? Do you only get the Atchison Bafferts? So we don't know where those horses are going, which makes that more difficult. But right now, for me, I would give it to Pletcher with an asterisk because I don't know what's going to happen with the Bafferts. I will tell you this. I'm kind of getting sick of these Brad Cox horses. I'm getting sick of like having 2 Brad Cox horses, 3 Brad Cox horses in all these races, and just you're not seeing that step forward you want from the horses that are supposed to be good, but you're seeing marginal improvement from the horses that aren't as good that end up winning the race. It's just like, all right, guys, like let's figure our shit out here. Let's get us some nice hierarchy here.
It's a great point. At the beginning of the year, I think we talked about this. I think it was Cox, Asmussen, Pletcher were the ones we were ranking because we weren't considering Baffert. It'll be curious to see where Arabian Night goes. Curious to see where Cave Rock goes as far as trainers. If Baffert doesn't want to care about making the Derby for Cave Rock, if he's thinking Preakness is better for him, you build to that. You don't have to switch trainers. You just keep him on your team. You throw him in the State Derby and you screw over the horses to switch trainers and you win that one. I mean, maybe that's what he does, but a great question, Dennis, whether or not you meant it for somebody else's show. Oh yeah, Gabe, I don't think Kings Barnes is going to win the Derby, but you do have him included with that too. So he broke his maiden. He debuted as a 3-year-old, right? And broke his maiden. So he's going to have to be Justify-esque to get it done. But yeah, a great point nonetheless.
Yeah, he won a nice one at Tampa 2 weekends ago, I believe it was. So you're going to see him in a stakes race next time out. Probably a points race.
Probably Tampa Derby. Yeah. Yeah, because that was on Sam F. Davis weekend. So, all right, let's head over to head back to Fairgrounds here. We'll switch gears and talk about the Kentucky Oaks and everybody's top pick for the Oaks. Well, she stumbled a little bit right there, and everybody who bet her 11-1 to win the Kentucky Derby, probably not so happy now, are they, Mike?
Well, if you bet her 11-1 to win the Kentucky Derby, you shouldn't have been happy when you hit the submit bet button. Like that was not.
You were out drinking with Dennis. That's what you did.
Yeah. Look, this race is a mess. There are more trip issues in this 6-horse field than there were in the 13-horse field we just watched. Most of them are the 2 Hoosier Philly. You mentioned the bobble at the break. She wants to be a little forwardly placed. Now she's in between and getting checked back when they're going 25 seconds in the first quarter of a mile. I have excuse after excuse for Hoosier Philly in this race, which is not what I expected when I watched the replays again the next day after this race ended. You look at like Chop Chop, no excuse. Chop Chop should have won this race by 6. Like if Chop Chop was real, should have won pretty easily. Hopefully we see her on the turf next time out. But the stumble was real at the gate. The blocking in the backstretch was real at the gate. They crawled up front, right? She has to go 4 wide against it. I am willing to give her a pass in this one, where I don't think I'm willing to give many passes in the Colt race.
Michael Myers says on the backstretch, I said Morales will get this horse beat, meaning Edgar Morales, the only jockey who's ever ridden her in a race. I have seen a lot of not complaints, but people just criticizing his ride and saying if she had a Hall of Fame jockey or a classic winning jockey aboard her, it wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been an issue. To me, it mostly sounded like sour grapes, so I didn't entertain it too much. But what do you think? I mean, does a better jockey get her in the gate, or is it really, like you said, she only had a few works coming into this and maybe just needed time?
Yeah, I mean, she stumbled out of the gate. So I guess you could make an argument, well, a better jockey, she doesn't stumble. Okay, if that's true.
No, that's not true.
Like then you can make the argument for the rest of it. But like after the break, not really much of a choice to go into the first turn. And all of a sudden, you're just in an awful spot. Like there's not really much. What's Morales supposed to do? Go to the lead down the backstretch 4 wide? Like, I don't understand what option you think is good. After the break, you're put in a situation where you're kind of screwed no matter what you do. If you rush up, you're screwed. If you sit in between, you could have exactly what happened you happen to, which is you have to check after the leaders go 25 seconds in the first quarter. So, no, I don't think that Morales mattered here. Do I think that you could get a better jockey? Yeah, sure. There's better jockeys than Morales out there. I don't think anyone would argue that, including Morales, right? But
yeah,
with what happened here, I'm not sure what you want him to do. Because this stumble is real. That first footstep was not good. Then her hind legs weren't good. And all of a sudden, a horse that wants to be forwardly placed is last in a field of 6. And the gate draw doesn't help either. If she stumbles in the 6th gate, she can run up to the outside of horses comfortably and get to where she wants. When you stumble in the 2 and the 1 and the 3 close on you, you either have to go 4 or 5 wide around the first turn in a 1.16 mile race, not something you're looking to do, especially into a slow pace, or you've got to make the decision that you're just going to let this play out and see what happens. He made the decision to let it play out, which is probably the prudent decision when you're on a 2-5 shot, because you theoretically have the best horse, and it just played out really poorly. As far as, not very forward and wasn't as close to these top two, I think you have to look at this. Like, Miracle's not a good horse. I put Miracle on the ticket, and I talked about Miracle on the show as winning the race because of the pace. This is a pace-dependent result for both the 5 and the 6 in my mind. Now, the 5 has good races in the past. Less pace-dependent than the 6. But the 6 ran second in this spot and almost won the race because they essentially went 25, 49, 113. That was the way that the 6, who was a sprinter, could end up winning the race. So I don't blame – I also don't think Hoosier Philly really got asked on the lane if you watch Morales. I think he kind of was like, all right, I'm not catching those two. I'm going to wrap it up a little bit here. So I'm not worried about the margin of distance here for Hoosier Philly. The fact that I was even picking the 6 tells you how I felt about the pace in this race, and it manifested that way, and Hoosier Philly didn't break. That's a bad situation. Yeah,
it was pretty unfortunate. Looking ahead towards the Oaks, is Hoosier Philly still your top pick? Did you switch to Pretty Mischievous?
Give me Hoosier Philly. And give me a better price now, by the way. If we want to look at the silver lining here, you're not getting 2-5 anymore. Now you're looking at so you're going to get a better price on her, who I still think is the most talented horse. Was first off a bench, lightly worked into it, bad break, slow pace. There's a bunch of reasons bunch of excuses you can make for Hoosier Philly here, who just wasn't good enough today based on the circumstances.
Horse I'm excited to see this weekend is a horse named Coffee in Bed. Do you remember her?
Mm-hmm.
She had that big win for Mandela, which, by the way, ice dancing is now out of the training for a bit. She had a chip after she won the last race she was in, San Ynez. But Santa Isabel is this weekend. It's the first 2-turn Derby prep at Santa Anita of the year. And Coffee in Bed seems like she's gonna be pretty special. She's a daughter of Curlin, Spendthrift Farms owner. Just a super impressive. It's tough because she just debuted back on January 6th and won. So it's a big step up. A lot could happen, needs to happen for her to keep improving. But dark horse candidate, I go with Coffee in Bed. Watch for her this weekend in the Santa Isabel at Santa Anita. I switched to Pretty Mischievous. Pretty Mischievous, I had her highly ranked anyways coming into this. So I'll go ahead and put her over Hoosier Philly, but I'm not going to drop Hoosier Philly lower than second. Wonder Wheel, you could have argued, would be up there, but I think that this effort here, there's more excuses than for Wonder Wheel and what happened at Tampa. She should have won at Tampa. I still don't understand how she lost that race.
You want to do a tequila bet? Oaks, both make the gate. You get Pretty Mischievous. I get Hoosier Philly. Head to head in the Oaks. Both have to make the gate. Both have to break from the gate to qualify as a bet. I get Hoosier Philly. You get Pretty Mischievous. You just put her on top. You just said she's the best one, the one you take.
Oh, well, it'd be my pick right now, but a lot is going to happen in the next it's 2.5 months out, man. I can't make that kind of a bet.
A lot can happen to my horse, too. It's not like this is one-sided. Plus, I said they both have to make the gate. So you have a caveat where if something happens, you're okay. You're safe. You're fine. Let's do it.
No, I won't do it.
Every time someone says that, do it, Magic. I think of the entourage where Vinny is buying the Rolls Royce. Do it, Vinny. I don't know why.
Dennis will take it. There you go. You and Dennis now have the tequila bet.
Yeah, the drunk guy.
Yeah. There we go.
Magic wants my side, though. Or I'm sorry, Dennis wants my side. He doesn't want your side.
Dennis, I'm gonna just preemptively say Dennis takes Pretty Mischievous.
All right.
All right. Well, speaking of coffee in bed, I feel like going to bed and taking a nap. No, I'm just kidding. That's pretty much it for the show, though. Not much to talk about in terms of Derby and Oaks from this past weekend, other than what we saw. Nothing even from the allowance races or main special weights were super exciting. Tappett's Conquest, got third, but somehow that's going to be good enough to go to Louisiana Derby, but that's fine. We'll take it. We do have the Rebel Stakes coming up later this week at Oaklawn Park on Saturday. That's the big focus. Also going to have the Honeybee Stakes. It's a Kentucky Oaks prep race there. I believe Secret Oath won that race. Yeah, Secret Oath won the Honeybee Stakes. So maybe we'll get the Kentucky Oaks winner to come out of Oaklawn for the second straight year. We'll see what happens. Oh, yeah, the Saudi Derby, which isn't even an official Kentucky Derby prep race. That's this weekend. Yep. Mm-hmm. Do you want to cover the Saudi?
Pick 5.
I don't forget the track's name. Do you want to do their pick 5?
I don't think you can bet it in the U.S.
Really?
I don't think so. And no, I don't. Well, I'll just get out in front of you. Wow, I don't have any interest in betting that racetrack.
We forgot to talk about the Japanese horse that won the prep Sunday. Perrier is his name. You want to talk about Perrier? No? Okay, that's fine.
I think we're okay. As long as no Japanese horse goes out in 22:45, I'm going to be okay this year.
I still want to pull my hair out over that. It still makes me mad. Swear to God, if they send any over that do that again, I'm gonna lose it live on there. Gabe says you can bet the track in the U.S. Not sure about the pick 5. That's fair.
It's on all the ADWs, so you're able to bet the race. Because for a while they were offering pick 4s at Ascot, but because of the pool situation, it was only a U.S. based pool, which made it kind of funky, and then they took those away. So they don't always offer those bets because the international races don't always offer those bets.
Well, yeah, then we don't have to worry about that. We don't have to cover that. Where do you want to go, though? I know it's Tuesday, so they haven't drawn everything, but Oaklawn is the.
Let's do Sam Houston. No, wait, we can't still. No, Marco, we can't bet Sam Houston yet. Maybe someday soon. At least we're past the HISA thing. Now it's just the legislation and making sure they don't break the law. But yeah, no, it's still no Sam Houston. Where should we go this weekend? Let's see.
Oaklawn's the main focus because of the Rebel, but there's also no turf racing, and I know how you feel about that.
I do poo-poo on turf racing. We should probably do Oaklawn or Santa Anita, because I actually think Santa Anita is supposed to have a good card on Saturday too, aren't they?
It's supposed to rain all weekend, though.
Oh, well, let's poo-poo on Santa Anita. Yeah, let's go to Oaklawn then.
Oaklawn? I was gonna say Gulfstream's supposed to have sunny weather all weekend, but we can definitely do Oaklawn.
Let's do Oaklawn, baby. Let's crush it.
Look at that. Mike was given the choice and boxed into a corner because he had no other options, and he chose this one, so that works out. We'll go to Oaklawn Park. So make sure you join us on Thursday, February 23rd at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific, which we're both in the same time zone now, which is awesome, covering the late pick 5 at Oaklawn Park for this coming Saturday. Rebel Stakes, Honeybee Stakes. I assume the Carousel Stakes is part of that as well. So join us here at that point. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Chris Kalleward. He is at Somobomb 18, number 1, number 8, corporate overlords at racing_dudes. Make sure you go to racingdudes.com. Check out everything that we have as far as premium products go, the Somobombs, the Racing Dudes Rockets, and then every race, every track across the country with the Racing Dudes Premium. And then there was one more thing I was going to bring up, and I just forgot about what it was. Couldn't have been that important. Oh, subscribe, youtube.com/racingdudes. Make sure you subscribe to that one. Community continues to grow and grow. It's pretty awesome. Love to have you be a part of it if you aren't yet. Until Wednesday for Dudes Who Bet Daily, I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
Good luck this week, and we'll see you. Well, shit, we'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, everybody.
It's been another week in racing. It's time to recap it. And who better to do it than Michael and Magic? 2 bros/pros who cover the highs and lows of racing around the globe on every one of their shows. Real fans look forward to these guys and their last stunts, cause they know they're not talking out of their royal ascot. What they say makes sense. So ladies and gents, sit back and relax as Blinkers Off presents The Magic Mike Show, where you hear the experts speak. The Magic Mike Show. Tune into the show every week. The Magic Mike Show. You can trust the show is the bomb because it's being brought to you by racingdudes.com.